Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I hope that you are all good. In today's video we are going to be doing a spring blue acrylic set of nails with some foils on the top, so I really hope you all enjoy watching. Now I'm going to be using a mix of acrylics today, so I'm going to be using Obsession and Smurf from CJP and then Baby Blue from Glitterama. I also have some glitters, so we have this one from Smiley's which is called Cool as Ice, and then some blue mylar from Charlie's Nail Art, as I'm really loving mylar in glitter nails at the moment. I did also have these iridescent glitter florals. I'm not sure where they're from though. And then for our foils, I'm going to be using a foil gel and the floral mix foils from Kiki London. Now this design was kind of a mix of a set of nails that I wanted to do as well as a subscriber suggestion. So one of my subscribers suggested a blue set of nails on sculpted forms but with encapsulated florals with like a glittery blue spring design, and I kind of didn't get time to do, I wanted to do a sculpted set on myself. I did say that I'm not very good at doing sculpted nails, but for practice on myself, but I haven't had the time. So I kind of combined that with a few designs that I've had in mind that I've wanted to do into this set. So I really hope you all enjoy watching. Starting off, I'm going to come in with, actually, I'm working on my I'm working on my red iguana practice hand today. I hope this voiceover is going to go better than what it already has been. So yeah, I'm working on my red iguana. I've already applied my tips. I didn't do a clear base on these because they were just tips that fit directly into the hand, so we're jumping straight into the design. But I started off by picking up a baby boy and just a small bead of this, placing it down at that cuticle area and then fading it down towards the tip of the nail. I wanted this nail to be full on sparkly vibes, but I wanted there to be a bit of a clear tip. As I was coming in with this glitter, I just felt as though it looked very wintry. I think it's the baby blue mixed with an iridescent blue glitter. It was just giving me more winter vibes than spring. So I kind of changed up where I was going with the design as we go through the rest of the set. I did still come in and pop down two of those large iridescent flowers on here. They don't massively pop when they are just placed down on the nail, but once you have encapsulated and top coated, you do notice them a little bit more. I'm just popping down a wash of clear acrylic over the top of them just to hold them in place, and then I will fully encapsulate the nail further along in the video once all those glitters have set in place. If you go in to encapsulate whilst your glitters are still wet, when it comes to applying that clear layer of acrylic, you will end up pulling off a lot of the glitters, so it's kind of better to just wait for those to set in place. But I do just pop down a wash of acrylic here and there if it's needed, for example over those iridescent flowers, just because they're quite big and it will hold them in place. On the ring finger, I'm going to come in with my CJP Obsession, and we're just going to do a full now of this color. So I'm coming in with my first bead of acrylic, placing it down in the middle of the nail, patting and pressing it from this to the sides, and then pulling down towards the tip of the nail. We're wanting the tip of the nail to be nice and thin, but we are going to want to build up our apex down in that zone 3, so kind of like just back from the cuticle area. Now I also wanted to point out I was using a different CJP monomer here, so I usually use the one monomer. However, here I was using their hema-free one, and I feel as though it just sets a little bit slower than what I'm used to with the one. I love working with the one monomer because I feel like it really speeds up the setting process, if that makes sense. So I was feeling a little out of whack with my ratio when I was applying this bead. It was just a little bit wetter and setting a little bit slower than what I personally like, so I was kind of having to try and bear that in mind when I was picking up my beads of acrylic. I do think it's amazing though that CJP offer, and I think a lot of brands do this, different monomers to suit different needs, if that makes sense. It's been a long time since I've bought anything from CJP because I have so much in my collection I'm trying to use up, so I do apologize if anything has changed with their formulas or what they have available. But yeah, on that ring finger I just wanted to build up a solid nail of Obsession because I'm going to come in and apply my foils to that nail. on this now, I picked up the gorgeous Smurf. Now this is such a lovely blue shade. So I kind of just put down a really thin layer of this, and it was just way too thin. The color went a little bit patchy. So I blended it back, and then I'm just going to come in and pick up another bead to build up that color. I didn't want there to be too much thickness built up here, because I was going to come in here with my glitters and my encapsulated florals. I decided to go for some dried flowers for this part of the encapsulated flower look. Now what ended up happening is I come in and I place down the dried flowers that I'd picked out, and they were just too similar to the color, and they kind of just blended in, and it didn't really look like dried flowers on the nail. It kind of ended up looking just like there was some texture going on with the glitter. So that's why on this nail I kind of just worked with it. But then what I decided to do was layer my floral foils over the top of it anyway, so it covered up a lot of the design that I didn't really like, if that makes sense, because I kind of had that plan in mind from the suggestion of doing foils. So I knew I was going to be coming in with foils on this set. So I thought, do you know what, I'm not going to try and remove the dried flowers. I'm just going to go with it and come in and layer up the foils. So you don't actually see many of these dried flowers on this finger anyway in the end result of the design. Now if I was to do this again, I would have just used either a different color dried flower, so I could have used like a white or a cream, or I would have gone with a lighter base, which is actually what we're going to end up doing on the pointer finger, because I did really want to make sure that you could see some of these dried flowers in the design. These are from Charlie's Nail Art, by the way, and I do have a discount code for Charlie's, so I will leave that in the description box below. But I picked up a small bead of clear acrylic, went into my glitter, faded that back, and then I picked up my dried flowers, and then I decided to come in with some of these iridescent flowers, and I'm just patting that all in to my wet acrylic and applying a little bit of clear acrylic where it's needed. And then I'm going to leave that to set before I come in with Obsession and create the ombre over the top of it. So what I'm basically going to do now is on the pointer finger, we're pretty much going to repeat what we just did, but I don't end up adding in the glitter. I thought it would be nice just to have the dried flowers pop in. So I've come in with a bead of Baby Boy, placed it down, and then I've blended it back so it blends back into that natural nail bed area, and then our core color is going to blend nicely over the top. And then again, I did this in 2 small beads just so that I could get nice thin coats but still get the pigmentation coming through from the colors. So I repeated that again, blending it back, pulling it down towards the tip of the nail, trying to keep the application nice and neat and nice and thin, especially at those side walls. And then over the top, I'm going to start placing down those dried flowers. So this first one that I picked up was a little bit big that it wouldn't bend, so I just put a little cut in there, and then I'm pretty much going to patch it back up. But this way it just it goes over the nail a lot more smoothly rather than sticking up in the middle where it wouldn't lie flat. A lot of the time, if I plan my designs a little bit better than I do this one, I'll just bend the dried flowers before placing them down on the nail, and then you can kind of put that curve into them. And then I was just picking up some lighter blue dried flowers to dot around as well, and then just put, again, small wet beads of acrylic, just washing them over those dried flowers just to hold them in place so they're not going to move around when we come and do our ombre and when we come and encapsulate. Moving on back to the middle finger, I'm going to start doing the ombre. So I've picked up a small bead of Obsession, pressing it side to side, and then gently blending it down. I didn't want this to cover up too much of the dried flowers. I still was trying to, at this point, thinking, can I salvage this design? But then I end up just thinking, do you know what, we're going to apply foils over the top. So I just go in a bit more with that ombre. So I picked up my next bead of acrylic, placed this down at the cuticle area, and then I'm just tapping it from side to side and pulling it down, trying to create a nice gentle blend. It can be a little bit tricky when you're blending your core colors over stuff that has texture like dried flowers, because it kind of ends up getting stuck in the pieces. So I'm just trying to use nice light feathery strokes, and then I just come in with a little bit of monomer to remove some of that excess acrylic so it didn't cover up too much of our blue. And then I'm just kind of tapping and pressing and lightly feathering this out just to fix it up a little bit. And then we're going to do the same here. So I'm going to come in, pick up my bead of acrylic, placing that first bead down. This is going to be the bead of acrylic I use to create my blend. So I'm taking this from side to side and then blending it down over those flowers, trying to not pull it down too much because I don't want to cover up too much of the tip of the nail. Then we're going to pick up our next bead of acrylic, place this down at that cuticle area. I'm trying to tilt the finger downwards so that the acrylic doesn't run back and flood the cuticle area, and then I'm just tapping this up into place at that cuticle area, and then again doing the same as before, pulling this down, but we're not pulling it down as far as the tip of the nail, and then just cleaning up where necessary. If you take it down too much and you're covering up too much of your design, you can just come in with a little bit of monomer and clean up. And I really liked how that looked, where the flowers are semi hidden under the ombre. Of course, if you don't want to do this, you can come in and do your ombre and then apply your flowers over the top if you kind of want them to be more layered rather than sunken in to that ombre. We're then going to begin encapsulating. So this is where as well I was just struggling with my clear acrylic. It just felt too wet no matter how I was picking up my beads. So I'm just coming in and I'm going to encapsulate all of the nails except for the ring finger, because we built up that now. We built the strength and structure with the core powder that we use. It doesn't need to be encapsulated. So if you are using core or strength powders and you haven't done anything that needs encapsulating like glitter, you can just come in and build up your nail with that color. Same kind of with these two nails. I did build up a little bit of the apex with our core color when we was creating the ombre, so I don't need to build up as much thickness in that back third of the nail as what I would say on the little finger, where we've just got design color powders used and glitters. So I'm kind of just trying to predominantly encapsulate the tip of the nail here, making sure that all of those glitters and dried flowers are encapsulated, so that when it comes to filing, we're not going to file off any of the glitters or flowers. So here I'm placing this bead of acrylic down, but I'm going to pull a lot of this down towards that tip of the nail to make sure I'm fully getting in the chunkier glitters that I'd placed down. And then we're going to move on and do exactly the same on the pointer finger. Now, I have completely been out of practice with acrylic, and I've done a few videos recently, and I'm trying to do at least one acrylic set a week, whether it be on camera or off camera, to get that practice back in, as I really miss doing acrylics, but I really feel like I've struggled a bit lately. So do let me know in the comments below if there's anything that you would like to see, whether it be with acrylics, gel polish, stamping. Let me know in the comments below. And I kind of like to try and plan out what I'm going to do for a video anyway, but then I write down a lot of the suggestions or ideas that I do have. So if I'm ever kind of like sat at my desk with some free time and I'm stuck with what to do, then I can kind of just look at that list and do one of the sets from that list, if that makes sense. So if you do have anything that you would like to see done, pop it in the comments below and I shall get around to it eventually. It's been a little bit busy when it comes to uploading videos in the last year. I love doing nails, but it's that line between work and finding time for, like, this is kind of like a little sideline of mine. I do earn a little bit of money from YouTube and nails, but it's nothing to sort of shout about. So it's kind of finding that gap to get time to do sets in, because sometimes it can take absolutely ages to do a video when it comes to creating the design and doing all the filing, especially for an acrylic set, and then the editing of the videos, etc, etc. Anyway, off camera I did file and buff these. A lot of the time when I'm filing my nails on the red iguana hand, I'll take the tips out of the hand just so I don't cause any unnecessary damage to the hand. So I filed and buffed, cleaned up all the dust, and then we're going to come in and apply our foil gel, which is exactly what we're doing now. So I'm just going to apply a thin coat of this to all of the nails and then pop this in to cure for 30 seconds, and then we can come in and apply our foils. So once you've cured your foil gel, it is super tacky, so you don't want to touch your foil down onto it unless you're happy with how it's placed. So there I was kind of just trying to work out where I wanted my foils to go, and then I cut out a section, and then I'm just going to place this down onto the nail. I really love these floral foils from Kiki because they are so vibrant. So I'm just placing this down. I start off by patting and pressing and rubbing with my thumb and fingers, and then I like to switch to the silicone tool just to ease out any creases. Now, I hadn't applied my foil gel as well as I could have down in that lower sidewall area, so I had a little bit of trouble getting the lower foil to stick. There just wasn't foil gel there. I must have missed a bit as I come around that sidewall area, so I was trying my best to get this to stick as well as I could, but it definitely could have done with a better application, because the Kiki London foil gel is amazing. It grabs onto the foils so easily. If you would like to see more videos using the Kiki London products, then do head on over to their YouTube channel. I do upload videos there every single Friday. So on this now, this is where I was going to come in and cover up a lot of this design with this big blue rose foil. I really liked how this looked in the end. Obviously, you're covering up a lot of that design underneath, but that hadn't gone to plan for me anyway, so this just worked out well. But as you can see, I'm just patting and rubbing this down, peeling back slowly, and if there's any areas that need a little bit more of a rub, I can gently peel that back. There was an area that didn't fully transfer, so I just come in and touched that up with the little piece that was missing. So I just lined this up as best as I could, give it a bit of a rub and a bit of a press, and then pulled off. And then that's our foils applied, because I did only want to apply foils on 2 of the nails, and we're then going to come in and top coat. So I'm top coating today with the Kiki London No Wipe top coat. This was an old bottle. I accidentally picked up an old bottle that I was meant to throw in the bin, so there was hardly any product in this bottle, so I was kind of having to really struggle to get it out of the bottle. But I really do love the Kiki No Wipe top coat. I already have a new bottle just arrived ready to go on my desk, because it's one of my go-to products. I love this top coat, the rubber top coat, and the crystal top coat from Kiki, and if you're wanting a matte top coat, then matte top coat is gorgeous as well. So I'm just going to come in and apply a thin coat of this to all of the nails. I'm trying to just work with the one that I was using here. I didn't see the point in switching it out, so I did have to go in and touch up the top coat a little bit off camera. But then once I had finished top coating all of the nails, I'm then going to pop these in to cure for a full 60 seconds. I think this top coat only requires a 30-second cure. Some of the Kiki top coats require a 30-second cure and some a 60, but it is always printed on their bottles as well anyway, so you can always check there if you're unsure. But once I had applied this, it brought back the life. I love doing this step on acrylic set of nails, where you kind of make them look all matte, and when you're doing your filing and you're encapsulating, etc., and then you go in and you apply your top coat and it brings everything back to life. Anyway guys, that takes us to the end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, please do give the video a thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would absolutely love it if you did. Lots of love, take care, bye bye.